Good morning and welcome to KidNuz. I'm Tori. Today's Monday, January 10th, 2022. And we begin with college football getting ready to crown its national champion. Tonight, the Alabama Crimson Tide will play the Georgia Bulldogs in the final game of the season. Kickoff is 8 p.m. Eastern at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. According to ESPN, the Bulldogs say they're ready to face Bryce Young, Alabama's Heisman Trophy winner, and a quarterback they call Houdini for his ability to get rid of the ball quickly and miss sacks. The All-SEC face-off is a rematch of the 2018 championship game, which Alabama won in overtime. It's official. The James Webb Telescope has spread its golden mirrored wings, marking the end of its high-stakes deployment stage. The 21-foot-long panels unfolded without a hitch Saturday morning, marking a milestone that was met with thunderous applause from the NASA Control Center. But the journey is not yet over. As we mentioned last week, the telescope still has 2 weeks of travel before it gets to cool its jets for a few months and has all of its mirrors aligned just so. Only then will we see what the strongest ever space camera can see of deep space. Florida International University put a bunch of COVID-sniffing pups through their paces last year, and the hard work is now paying off for some schools in Massachusetts. 2 labs named Hunter and Duke are on duty, following their noses around classrooms in the Freetown Lakeville district. For the time being, the canine cops do weekly walkthroughs of empty rooms and halls. They've become such a campus hit, they're getting calls from other schools wanting a visit from the super-sensitive sniffers. While experts aren't sure how the sniff test will hold up in larger, crowded spaces, the district superintendent calls the classroom visits a win-win for slowing the spread of COVID and doing it in a way that doesn't disrupt the school day. A dog's nose can reportedly detect the specific scent of COVID with just a few months of instruction. Hunter and Duke are the first law enforcement canines in the country to graduate from that training and get pressed into service. It was probably just a matter of time, a car that's part chameleon and can change color with the push of a button. BMW's concept SUV can cycle through 3 hues on demand. 1 minute it's white, the next black or gray. So far, these are its only 3 colors, but it's a start. According to CNN, the trick isn't done with paint. The surface of the car has millions of tiny capsules, each one containing negatively charged white pigments and positively charged black ones. Electric currents bring the pigment of choice to the surface to create the different shades. The car can be all one color or show off different shades in different parts. Even the wheels can get in on the action. As cool as it is, the multicolor car is so far just a one-off creation. There are no plans to bring it to showrooms. A favorite actress of your grandparents may be gone, but there's now a way to honor her. The Betty White Challenge is sweeping the internet. It's a virtual event that will be held on January 17th, which would have been her 100th birthday. And to participate, all you have to do is donate $5 to your local animal shelter or rescue organization. The Golden Girls star was a lifelong animal rights activist who once said she liked her furry friends more than people. Even before the challenge, animal accolades are rolling in. Firefighters who pulled a deer from the icy waters of an Illinois lake dubbed their rescue Betty White. Guide Dogs for the Blind named one of its newest puppies Betty Rose. And a Texas donkey rescue, long supported by the actress, just named its newest Janet, the name for a female donkey, Betty. In other KidNuz notes, the rate of infection in the U.S. continues to soar. According to USA Today, a new report out of Johns Hopkins says 8 Americans are now testing positive every second. But Dr. Anthony Fauci has some good news. He believes the numbers will start to go down by the end of this month. Hong Kong is also reeling from another COVID wave, so much so the territory is closing the doors to Disney. The resort is shutting down for at least 2 weeks as the region deals with skyrocketing infections. So far, Disney's in the U.S. are staying open. That's it for KidNuz. Now, our KidNuz quiz. What are the names of the dogs sniffing out COVID in a Massachusetts school district? Hunter and Duke. What teams are playing in tonight's national championship? Georgia and Alabama. How can you help celebrate the life of actress Betty White on what would have been her 100th birthday? By donating $5 to an animal organization. How many Americans are reportedly testing positive for COVID every second? 8. In today's KidNuz Kicker, imagine you're doing a little ice fishing in Wisconsin when your little patch of serenity suddenly separates from the shoreline. That's what happened on Saturday when the ice 34 people were standing on cracked and started floating out into the frigid Green Bay. The berg made it a mile from where it started by the time everyone was rescued and brought to solid ground. For some, it was their first and possibly last attempt at the sport. Before we head out, it's time to shout out our teachers, starting with Mrs. Primo and her Oakfield Oaks at Oakfield Elementary in Oakfield, Wisconsin. Mrs. Miller at Tinker K-8 in Tampa, Florida. To Washington State for Mrs. Crawford and her Smarty Pants at Hutton in Spokane. And Mrs. Johnson and her Dragons at Daybreak Primary in Battleground. And Mrs. Podolsky at Assumption Regional Catholic in Galloway, New Jersey. Thanks for listening. Please check out our cool KidNuz sweatshirts, t-shirts, and backpacks in our swag store at www.kidnuz.org. And we'll see you back here for more KidNuz tomorrow morning.